It's a pleasure to speak to you this afternoon. I'm going to take liberty and compare the perspective that I understand Christian theologian W. Paul Jones of the United States to the writings of Fethullah Gulen on diversity. And I want to begin by talking to you about fear and how, as a youth, I was often afraid to be different. And you may identify with that. And we know, those of you who have young people today, children, know that they are often afraid of peer pressure. Similarly, I found myself 5 years ago in a conference in Halifax. It was the Shambhala Institute. And there, in a session, I was invited to join with people who I was most repulsed by. And it was such a moving experience. Because when I just looked around the room, and we were invited to just form kind of round tables with people who we kind of looked around and decided we least wanted to be with. And when I sat down with these people, I was amazed at their stories. And so I'm reminded today about how often I am afraid to venture into foreign places because I'm afraid of what might be different. And so in writing this paper, I feel that I've been drawn or lean into the fear of diversity. So that's where I'm coming from. And I titled this, the topic of my session, Weaving Spiritual Diversity to Enhance Personal and Community Growth. I just flew here from Toronto where I was at meetings. And on the wall of the ramp as I walked out to the airplane were the words, "We don't see problems in different points of view, only potential." And I thought, wow, we don't see problems in different points of view, only potential. And that captured what I'm trying to get across to you and what I hear or read in the writings of W. Paul Jones and Fethullah Gulen. My objective in sharing with you this afternoon is to compare the teachings of these two great scholars in order to support the significance of collaboration, the diversity of spiritual perspectives in order to enhance individual and communal growth. That's my objective. I begin by considering the stories of Prophet Joseph in the Bible and in the Quran. In the Bible, there's mention of Joseph's coat of many colors. And when Yavuz asked me to prepare this, I thought of that coat of many colors. And I was so moved by it that it represents, I believe, what we are about today in our desire for a different world. The coat in its many colors is beautiful. It's woven together as one fabric, but yet it has distinct colors. And its beauty is because of its distinct multicolors. And I believe that's what our world needs to be known for. Its multiple varieties of cultures and faiths, etc. So that's the illustration that I want to use. In my readings, the central themes, as I understand them in the Quran, are compassion and awareness. One of the central themes that I understand in the Bible is the theme of love. There's some difference in these themes, but they complement one another. Another quote, you might think I spend a lot of time in Toronto, but another quote from the HSBC banking posters, I really like these posters, is if everyone thought the same, nothing would ever change. And I thought, wow, these are really beautiful. If everyone thought the same, nothing would ever change. And again, it's about leaning into the diversity, taking a deep breath and being willing to encounter people who are different and have different perspectives than we have. Paul Jones, in his writings on diversity, talks about a life of pilgrimage, a tapestry of perspectives, identifying the theologizing process. My work as a professor, I train chaplains. I train them in theological reflection. And I hear W. Paul Jones talking about a theologizing process, slowly, methodically coming to an understanding of how God speaks in the moment in our lives. And the expansion of our theology through reflection. W. Paul Jones talks about conservative quality. He holds up conservatives. And he says they have a strongly personal commitment as the characteristic of a conservative that we admire. And then he holds up liberal quality, the quality of awareness that there is more than one way of being faithful. He argues that we need conservatives and liberals, and they both have great qualities and they complement one another. And so in my appreciation of W. Paul Jones' writings, I went on to look at the writings of Fethullah Gulen on diversity. And even though he doesn't mention, in my reading of him, he doesn't mention diversity, he does mention variety. And I think there's a great similarity. He is driven by his desire to see a bridge between the East and the West. And I commend him for that. Turkey is equipped to present Islam's authentic face to the world with the emphasis on tolerance, dialogue, and respect. Again, dialogue, tolerance, and respect.